the old phone that destroyed my marriage. You never expect your life to shatter on an ordinary Saturday morning. But there I was, standing in my kitchen, coffee getting cold in my hand, staring at a text message that would tear my world apart. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name's Mike. I own Mike's Custom Auto Shop in Phoenix, where I turn wrenches on everything from classic Mustangs to modern Teslas. My wife, Sandy, well, she is my ex-wife now, was the kind of high school English teacher students remember forever, the one who made Shakespeare cool and got teenagers excited about reading old books. We met at a car show back in 2018. Picture this, a gorgeous Arizona sunset, hundreds of gleaming cars, and this beautiful woman in a flowery sundress standing next to a smoking Chevy Blazer, the kind of smoke that makes other mechanics run away, but not me. I walked right up and offered to help. 3 hours later, her Blazer was purring like a kitten, and we were sharing burgers and fries from a food truck, talking like we'd known each other our whole lives. She loved the way I could identify cars just by looking at their tail light. I loved how she could quote poetry about broken things becoming beautiful again. That's the thing about love. Sometimes the most perfect looking beginnings lead to the most painful endings. Fast forward 5 years. We had it all, or at least that's what everyone thought. Our house was the gathering spot for the neighborhood. That pool in the backyard, it saw more parties and barbecues than I can count. Every Tuesday night was Wing Tuesday. Sandy was famous in 3 zip codes for the wings. Even our dogs were perfect. Bandit was this goofy golden retriever who thought he was a lap dog, and Sadie, a border collie smart enough to open doors. We went camping in our RV once a month. I'd restored this old Winnebago myself, and Sandy had turned it into our perfect little escape pod. We had this huge map on the wall with pins marking everywhere we'd been. Red pins for places we'd visited, blue ones for places we planned to go. There were a lot of blue pins. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes the brightest lights cast the darkest shadows. The changes were really small at first, like water dripping on a rock. You don't notice the damage until the whole thing splits apart. Sandy started going to yoga on Saturday mornings. Nothing suspicious about that, right? Except she'd come home with perfect hair and fresh makeup. Who puts on makeup for yoga? Then came the password on her phone. She said students had grabbed it and posted stuff on her social media. Made sense. Teenagers do that kind of thing. But it still rubbed me the wrong way. Like when you hear a car engine making a noise that's just slightly wrong. The discovery wasn't dramatic. No lipstick on collars. No suspicious hotel receipts. Just a text message on her old iPhone one Saturday morning while she was at yoga. She'd gotten a new phone the week before, but kept the old one as a backup. It was sitting there on our kitchen counter, the same counter where we'd made breakfast together that morning, where I'd kissed her goodbye like any other day. The message that popped up hit me like a physical blow. The message I saw said something about my wife's underwear, and then the person said how good my wife felt. Can't wait until next week when your husband goes to that car show in Vegas. We'll have the whole weekend. The sender, Martin from school, the new gym teacher, the guy I'd shook hands with at school functions, the man who'd sat at my pool during Wing Tuesday, eating my food, drinking my beer, all while sleeping with my wife. You know that moment in movies where everything goes quiet and the world starts spinning? That's exactly how it felt. My coffee went cold in my hand as I opened their message thread. 5 months of texts, 5 months of lies, 5 months of them meeting at his apartment every time I went out of town. 5 months of both of them making fun of me. They'd even gone to a hotel in Scottsdale when Sandy said she was at a teaching conference in Tucson. I remembered that weekend. I'd called her each night, telling her I missed her, while she was lying in another man's arms 20 minutes from our house. Here's where most people would lose it. Throw things, scream, break stuff. But working on cars teaches you something valuable. When you diagnose a problem, you must stay calm. Think methodically, plan your moves. So I did what any good mechanic would do. I documented everything, took screenshots, recorded video of their messages, saved it all in 4 different places. My lawyer buddy Jason always says, document everything. Man, was he right. For 2 weeks, I lived a double life, made her coffee every morning, kissed her goodbye, watched our shows together at night. I even went to a school fundraiser where Martin was there, watching them pretend they barely knew each other. Oscar-worthy performances, both of them. During those 2 weeks, I planned everything. New bank account? Check. Apartment near my shop? Rented. Divorce lawyer? Hired. Important papers? Copied. Shop ownership documents? Organized. Evidence backed up in triplicate. Then came the Vegas Car Show weekend. Sandy thought I was going. Like always, packed my bags, kissed her goodbye, drove off in my truck. But instead of heading to Vegas, I parked down the street from Martin's apartment building. Right on schedule, at 7 p.m., Sandy's blue Chevy Cavalier pulled in. She had an overnight bag, like she was going on a romantic getaway. I took pictures, recorded video, felt like I was going to throw up the whole time. While they played house in his apartment, I executed my plan, moved out my stuff, took the dogs, left her wedding ring on top of the divorce papers on our kitchen counter. Next to them, I put a USB drive with all their messages and a note. Hope yoga was worth it. You and Martin seem really good at stretching the truth. The explosion the next day was nuclear. Sandy's calls and texts came in waves, first crying, then angry, then begging. How dare I look at her phone and go through her things? How could I invade her privacy? What about our life together? Martin got fired when the school found out. This particular school said they couldn't be in a relationship and work at the same school. The most amazing thing, no one knew. They hid their affair pretty well. Our friends were shocked, most stuck by me, especially when they learned some Wing Tuesdays got canceled because Sandy was with Martin those nights. The divorce was ugly. Sandy wanted half my shop, even though I'd owned it years before we met. Her lawyer tried painting me as the jealous and controlling husband for looking at her phone. The judge shut that down fast. Privacy in a marriage doesn't cover adultery, ma'am. 8 months have passed now. I kept my shop, which is doing better than ever. Bought a smaller house with a big yard for the dogs. Sandy moved to California. Martin is teaching in Oregon. The hardest part wasn't the divorce or moving out. It was going through our camping photos, looking at our smiling faces and wondering, was she thinking about him then? When we watched that sunset at the Grand Canyon, was she wishing he was there instead of me? Those questions hurt worse than any of the lies. But here's the thing about rock bottom. It's a solid foundation to rebuild on. I've changed a lot of things. Turned Wing Tuesday into a weekly classic car meetup at my shop. Started coaching Little League because I always wanted to work with kids, even teaching a car maintenance class at the community center. Last week, Sandy sent me this long email, 10 pages of apologies and regrets. Said she thinks about our life together every day, misses our house, our dogs, our camping trips. Know what I did? Took that letter, went on TikTok and made a video about it, told my story and then burned it. My new girlfriend Ashley was there too. She's a paramedic who brought her car in for repairs. Actually knows how to change her own oil, loves camping and dogs, doesn't need makeup for yoga because she doesn't lie about where she's going. People ask if I should have confronted Sandy when I first saw that message, maybe tried to save our marriage. But here's the truth. You can't fix broken trust like you can fix a broken car. With a car, you can replace the bad parts and make it run like new. But trust, those cracks never really go away. The weird thing is, I'm happier now than I was in those last months of my marriage when I was living a lie. My shop is thriving. Turns out karma's good for business. Ashley and I are planning a trip to Yellowstone next summer. Even the dogs are happier. No more staying out of the bedroom because of Sandy's allergies. Life has a way of showing you the truth, even when you're not looking for it. Sometimes it's a check engine light. Sometimes it's a text message on an old phone. And sometimes the worst moment of your life becomes the beginning of something better. So here's what I learned. Trust your gut when something feels off. Keep good friends close. Document everything. And maybe most importantly, remember that rock bottom is just the foundation for your next chapter. Thanks for reading, Reddit. Remember, there's life after betrayal. Sometimes it's even better than the life you had before. Edit, holy smokes, this blew up. Since everyone's asking, the dogs are living their best life. Bandit still thinks he's a lap dog. Sadie figured out how to open the fridge. Had to child lock it. Yes, I changed all my passwords and got a new phone number. Ashley says hi and thanks for all the paramedic love. And no, I don't miss Wing Tuesday. Pizza Friday is way better. Remember, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control what you do about it. Choose yourself, choose happiness, choose truth, and maybe check your old phones once in a while. Just saying.